Christmas at my parents' house was always chaos. Scent of pine and cinnamon, my dad snoring in his armchair, my mom fussing over the gravy. This year, my wife Sarah and our 6-year-old daughter Lily were with me. Perfect, familiar chaos. It started when Lily came down from the attic where she'd been looking for old board games. "Mommy, Daddy," she said, her little brow furrowed. "Who's the other grandma?" We laughed. "What other grandma, sweetie?" Sarah asked. "The one standing behind Nana in the bedroom," Lily said matter-of-factly. "She looks just like her, but her smile is too big." A chill, subtle as a draft, went through me. I went upstairs. My mom was alone, putting on her necklace. I shook it off. Kids have wild imaginations. But then the little inconsistencies began. I saw my dad walk into the kitchen, but when I followed a second later, he was coming in from the garage. "Did you just come from the garage?" I asked. He looked confused. "No, son, I've been in here with your mother." During dinner, I saw my mom's reflection in the glass of the patio door. She was smiling and talking to Sarah, but in her reflection, her face was completely blank, empty. I blinked, and it was normal. That night, putting Lily to bed in the guest room, she pointed to the dark corner. "The other grandma is here. She's sleeping, standing up." The air in the room grew cold. I saw nothing. "It's just shadows, honey," I said, tucking her in, my voice tighter than I intended. The climax came on Christmas morning. We were all gathered around the tree, wrapping paper everywhere. Lily was beaming, holding up a new doll. I looked at my family, my heart full. And then I saw it. Sitting in my father's armchair, wearing my father's clothes, was my father. But standing behind his chair, visible only in the reflection of the Christmas tree ornament, a shiny red bauble, was another man. Identical to my father in every way except his eyes. They were black, depthless pits, and he had one long, pale hand resting on my real father's shoulder. My real father looked pale, tired. He was fading. The doppelganger in the reflection saw me looking. Slowly it smiled, a gesture that didn't reach its horrible eyes. It began to lean down, as if to whisper something in my father's ear. I didn't think. I grabbed the nearest thing, a heavy metal poker from the fireplace, and I swung it not at the thing behind the chair, but at the red bauble, shattering it. The sound was explosive. Glass rained down. Everyone screamed. My dad jolted in his chair, gasping as if he'd been holding his breath. Color rushed back to his face. "What in God's name was that for?" he yelled. I looked behind his chair. There was nothing there. But on the floor, amidst the shards of the red ornament, was a single long gray hair. It wasn't my mother's. It wasn't anyone's in this house. We finished opening presents in silence. The cheer was gone, replaced by a nervous tension. Later, as I cleaned up the glass, Lily came and hugged my leg. "You made the stand-up lady go away," she whispered. I picked her up. "Yes, honey, she's gone." Lily looked over my shoulder towards the hallway, and her little body went stiff. "But the stand-up grandpa is still here," she whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "And he's angry." Everyone in our remote alpine village knew the old stories. They weren't stories to us, they were warnings. On the night of December 5th, Krampusnacht, St. Nicholas rewards the good children. But Krampus, he punishes the wicked. My younger brother Lucas was wicked, not mischievous, not playful, cruel. He pulled the wings off flies, set fire to a stray cat's tail, and always had a lie ready to get me in trouble. My parents thought he was just spirited. I knew the truth. This year, the elders said the signs were bad. The first snow fell black. The church bells rang on their own at midnight. They said Krampus was hungry. On Krampusnacht, we were told to stay inside, to leave a boot on the windowsill for St. Nicholas, and to pray we were found good. Lucas just laughed. "It's a stupid story for babies," he sneered before sneaking out to vandalize Old Man Hemmer's shed. I watched from my window. The village was silent, buried under a blanket of black-tinged snow. The air was so still it felt like the world was holding its breath. Then I heard it. A faint, rhythmic jingling like rusty chains being dragged through the snow. It was followed by a low, guttural breathing that didn't sound like any animal I knew. A shadow taller than any man and twisted like a gnarled tree moved between the houses. It stopped beneath my window. I ducked, my heart trying to beat its way out of my chest. I dared to peek. It was Krampus. His body was a mass of matted black fur, his legs were cloven-hoofed, and his face was a nightmare of yellowed fangs and glowing red eyes. Curved horns spiraled from his head. Tattered skin-like rags hung from his limbs, and he carried a wicker basket on his back. In one hand, he held a bundle of birch branches. He sniffed the air, then let out a sound that was half growl, half chuckle. He had caught a scent. Lucas's scent. I saw my brother then running from Hemmer's shed, a can of spray paint still in his hand. His face was a mask of pure terror. He saw the creature and froze. Krampus lunged. It wasn't a run, it was a predatory pounce. He moved with impossible speed. Lucas screamed, a high-pitched, desperate sound that was cut off as Krampus swatted him with the back of a clawed hand. My brother fell into the snow, silent. Krampus loomed over him, the jingling of his chains the only sound. He didn't kill him. He picked up Lucas's limp body, stuffed him into the wicker basket on his back, and secured the latch. He turned, and those glowing red eyes looked directly up at my window. He knew I was watching. He tilted his head as if in thanks for my brother's wickedness, for the meal he provided. Then he turned and vanished into the dark forest, the jingling of his chains fading away until the silence returned. The next morning, the village celebrated St. Nicholas Day. My parents were frantic, searching for Lucas. They called the police, said he must have been kidnapped. I didn't say a word. I just looked at the single child-sized boot left on our windowsill. It was filled not with chocolates and oranges, but with a bundle of birch sticks and a single small bloody tooth. My grandmother's old advent calendar was the only thing I wanted from her estate. It was a beautiful, handcrafted felt thing, with 24 little numbered doors sewn onto a winter village scene. Mom didn't want me to have it. She said it gave her the creeps as a child, but to me it was the essence of Christmas magic. On December 1st, with childlike glee, I opened door number 1. Behind it was a tiny, perfectly carved wooden sheep. It was charming. I placed it on the mantelpiece. Door number 2 revealed another sheep. This one, however, had a small, dark stain near its neck. I shrugged it off, a flaw in the wood. Each day I opened a new door. The figures grew more unsettling. A shepherd boy with a cracked face. A wise man whose painted eyes seemed to follow you. On the 12th, I found a wolf, its jaws open in a silent snarl, tiny red specks for eyes. The figures no longer felt charming. They felt ominous. I'd wake up to find they had moved during the night. The wolf was always a little closer to the sheep. The shepherd boy was always turned away, as if hiding his cracked face. On the 18th, I opened the door to find a small empty stable. That night I was woken by a sound, a faint scraping sound from the living room. I crept out of bed and peered around the corner. The figures were on the floor, arranged in a circle, and they were moving. Not much, just tiny, jerky movements. The wolf was circling the sheep. The shepherd boy was rocking back and forth. I slammed the light on, and they were still, just wooden figures. I was losing it. I decided to stop opening the doors. But the next night, December 19th, I found door number 19 swinging open on its own. Inside was a figure of a man lying down. A tiny red dot was painted on his chest. I threw the whole calendar into the closet, my heart pounding. But I could still hear it, faint scratching sounds from behind the door. On Christmas Eve, I was alone. The scratching had stopped, replaced by an eerie silence. I tried to watch a movie to forget, but I couldn't. The urge was too strong. The final door, number 24, was still closed. What was behind it? The baby Jesus? An angel? At midnight, I couldn't take it anymore. I went to the closet, pulled out the calendar, and with trembling hands, I opened the last door. It was empty. A wave of relief washed over me. It was over. Just an old, creepy toy. I went to the kitchen to get a drink, and I saw it through the window. In my snow-covered backyard, standing in a perfect circle, were 23 life-sized, horrifyingly detailed figures. The wolf, the size of a man, turned its head slowly towards me, its red eyes glowing. The cracked-faced shepherd raised a hand and pointed a bony finger in my direction. And in the center of the circle, where the empty stable should have been, was a shallow, freshly dug hole in the snow. The last figure, the one from door number 24, was meant for me.